Hey everybody! Super sorry this video is late. At first it was meant to come out on Halloween, and then Christmas, and well... I'm not the best at time management, but it's finally done! Think of this as that Christmas present you bought on Amazon that came just a couple days late. Also, luckily my Halloween sprites are kinda still Christmas appropriate, which is great, because I don't have to go through and change all of them again. And also, yay! Deadline loopholes. Regardless of that, Merry Christmas, Happy Halloween, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever other holiday that you celebrate, and most and foremost, Happy New Year, everybody. Alright, anyway, now that that's all out of the way, let's get started. Now, I know what you may be thinking. Another video on Madame? Come on, Nezzie. Well, not exactly. We're actually going to be talking about what the hell that noise is. What the fuck?
The fun has arrived!
Did you just fall out of the sky? Are you okay?
Oh yeah, no worries. I was powered up by the aura of a Weebiant trying to worm their way into a situation, claiming to have an in-depth knowledge that others have been carelessly overlooking, whilst simultaneously knowing all of zilch about what they're talking about. That stuff is like a drug. I could probably punch an elephant right now.
Please don't do that. I don't want to end up like a lunatic.
Well then I guess you'd better cough up whatever bad video it is you're hiding before I start punching pachyderms. I can basically smell it on you.
I mean, I have a front door, but okay.
Hey, front door, back door, I'm down for either way. I have the skills to do it and the tentacles to reach.
Just because I'm Japanese doesn't mean I'm into that.
Are you perchance into directing those tentacles towards a collaboration on a bad video?
Why the hell not? Got nothing better to do, and you're already on my balcony.
Cool. Afterwards we can come up with our ship name and then we'll have all our bases covered.
Wait, what?
Aw, Nezzie, you've got such a bunch of cute audience members out here, and they're called little monsters. That's adorable. I love it already. Hey everybody, I'm Ponder Sprocket, here to help Nezzie deal with some cast-off from the Madame situation that rose to popularity in the art community within the last month or so.
A little edgelord who's been stirring up trouble and being the very definition of r/I'm very smart.
For those unaware, there was a situation recently where a YouTuber named Madame got into a beef with an artist they'd commissioned to do some avatar stills for her. Basically, Madame commissioned her to draw the stills, but instead of payment, the commission would be paid for with a dedicated shout-out.
Something that almost everyone agreed wasn't a good option. Can't pay my child support to Karen with exposure.
This led to a misunderstanding where the artist thought they would be credited in every video where Madame used the work, and Madame thought they would only credit them in the one shoutout video. After looking over everything, everyone is basically in agreement that while the artist made a few mistakes, Madame is clearly in the wrong because she responded to those mistakes by directing harassment towards and attempting to dox the artist, who is a minor. And this is where Akumu comes into the fray.
Little guy apparently isn't satisfied with the fact that Slimmer's admitted wrong and apologized, and has decided to put her on an equal playing field with Madame, despite being nowhere near as bad as our little Leafy was here bootleg.
And surprise, surprise, guess who made a bad video trying to explain his stance? Who wants to take a guess at why these screenshots are bad? I'll give you 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. The context is completely removed.
Yeah, we have no idea what you said to warrant this. I've read a few of your comments and tweets, and I don't know if you realize this, but you've been kind of a dick.
From the screenshots he provides,
you are releasing someone else's personal information to the public with no permission.
Slimmer's called out you's ass, so to be honest, that's evidence. Have a nice day.
But she's a minor. She doesn't deserve to have her personal information leaked.
What the hell is wrong with you? No matter what they did, you don't dox anyone.
She's a minor, you fucking bozo.
That is doxing.
Under Section 3 of the amended Act, those found guilty of intentionally causing harassment, alarm, or distress can be fined up to $5,000 or be jailed up to 6 months, or both. Individuals guilty of creating fear of provocation of violence also face tougher punishment.
Do you not understand you're an idiot doxing a minor? You're sick. And do you not understand a joke name?
If doxing is done with the intent to threaten or harass someone, or leads to threats or harassment, those actions can be illegal.
Why are these people saying that I doxed someone? Because he didn't know what I was talking about.
What a coincidence! We, the people watching your video, also don't know what you were talking about. Why? Because Akumu thought it would be a great idea to remove the tweets that these people were responding to.
And when we say remove, we don't mean he didn't put them in the video. He straight up deleted them. Hiding something, Mr. Edgelord?
Right from the get-go, Akumu is presenting a dishonest claim. He is showcasing the tweets of people reacting to something that he said, but he's refusing to provide us with what exactly that was. Unfortunately, he's also not particularly good at covering his tracks, as we can find his Twitter interaction with Nightburn7, for example, which contains this back and forth.
WTH is wrong with you. No matter what they did, you don't dox anyone.
I'm not doxing anyone, you idiot!
Also, referring to Madam doxing her, you seem to be defending her, lol.
I'm not. Again, look into something before looking like a retard.
You seem to be really upset. You want to talk or something? I didn't do anything to look like a retard, and quite frankly, that is a very rude term to use, lol. It's very easy to assume you're defending her. Chill.
I don't care if it's rude. Talking is useless. I'm being lied on simply because I pieced together evidence of Slimmers lying like Madame lied.
How are you being led on, if you don't mind my asking?
I haven't attempted, nor said that I was gonna release her phone number. I simply asked someone to message me as I have the case number.
So, you didn't technically attempt to dox anybody. You were just asking if there was somebody out there who could dox her for you. Note, you didn't ask Slimmers directly. You asked strangers online, so don't even try to say that's not the same thing.
Because that's just so much better.
I don't get this dude's logic. His brain too big for me.
I can't believe that we're only 18 seconds in and we've got a big ol' lie by omission, a dishonestly presented accusation, and a major contradiction presented to us. That's gotta be like a new record or something. Akumu deserves a prize.
I found this crumpled gold star sticker in the trash.
Let's break this down. The lie by omission is him leaving out important information regarding what people were responding to.
The dishonestly presented argument is him pretending that these people didn't have reason to believe that he was going to dox Slimmers, especially when you take into consideration that this guy has apparently been harassing Slimmers and her friends during the course of this drama.
And the contradiction will come up a little bit later, but it has to do with him making note that someone out there should be able to answer his question and provide Slimmers' private information to him.
Which is basically him not committing the crime, but asking someone to do it for him. Which doesn't make you innocent, my guy.
Now, could there be other things that this original deleted tweet said? Could we be wrong? I'd say absolutely, were it not for this tweet of him acknowledging what he apparently said in that now deleted tweet. Whoops.
Also, I'm not surprised these people thought that. You don't ask for someone's personal information on a public fucking forum. That's what we call being suspicious.
Hey guys, so completely off topic, but could someone message me their credit card number? I have to check something.
Ponder! Are you going to scam people out of their money?
What? No! I'm asking for their credit card number for perfectly legitimate, not taking advantage of having that information held over the head of someone I publicly acknowledge I'm going to go after until they confess reasons.
Oh, remember kids, never judge a book by its cover.
Akumu acts like because he didn't state that he was going to release the number, everyone else is wrong for coming to that conclusion, and he's perfectly in the right and didn't potentially mislead people at all by not stating that information. Wanna guess exactly how long it's gonna take him to vilify Slimmers for not outright stating information? We'll get to it. I expect this dude to defend himself with age because he states he's 16, but that doesn't make this any better.
It's so much worse. This person that's giving out her county is such a stand for this other YouTuber, Madame, that he's trying to dox the girl for defending herself against Madame. This crossed over from being internet drama into legitimate child endangerment. Feel free to report.
Imagine being this ridiculous, doing and saying stuff about people that have nothing to do with you instead of living your life and let the drama settle down instead of fueling the fire.
You are so fucking deluded, it's hilarious. Imagine obsessively attacking an artist for being protective of her artwork.
It's seriously not worth the hassle. That just brings more damage than good. Hasn't everyone been through enough? Why do you have this urging need to bring this up again? Just let it die and burn under a rock.
What's on the internet will never get deleted. What if your video flops? What if it brings more damage? If you try to change your name or move on, people will find you. It's not this easy. It's never this easy.
Why are you so hyperfixated over something so idiotic? There's better things to enjoy in life. Why wasting it on shit like this?
You didn't untag me in some of your damn replies here. Plus you linked your video. People will get on your ass for you trying to get people to witch hunt them. Stop trying to throw hate towards people. Let those two grow from that mess. That's what the fuck I'm trying to tell you.
That has literally nothing to do with anything I'm saying. Kid, really, once you grow up a little, I really hope you realize how stupid this whole situation is, because God, not only is it a waste of precious time, but also really embarrassing to see, it's pitiful.
Now, obviously these people are trying to silence the truth in the situation, but it's rather hilarious from how they approach their points.
Oh, is it obvious? Is it? From what I can see, it's obvious that you cut out context in order to hide what you've been doing in order to get people riled up behind the scenes, so that you can then make the claim that they are making assumptions and attacking you based on nothing. Attempts at riling people up, such as you calling Slimmers dumb and then being shocked that she didn't want to interact with or talk with you, using that fact and then hiding what precipitated it so that he can push the narrative that Slimmers is hiding something.
Can it really be said that they're trying to silence the truth when all these people are doing is just trying to tell you that you're wrong? Also, nobody wanted to talk to you? Maybe this will shed some more light as to why.
Now honestly, when I first got into the situation, I was trolling. However, the second I looked at the evidence, I knew what was clear. Both of them have made mistakes. If you're attacking Madame for hers, you should also be attacking Slimmers for hers. Your excuse is evidence, isn't it? Well, here it is. Otherwise, leave both of them be. Don't be a hypocrite with double standards.
I went into the situation originally trolling, and then I got mad that people decided not to talk with or interact with me because I got invested.
How is anyone supposed to tell the difference between you trolling and you legitimately being interested in sussing out the details of the case if your behavior doesn't change? You're an ass when you're trolling and you're an ass when you're not, and yet you're surprised that no one wants to deal with an ass?
Why are all of these dumbass retards being mean to me? They're attacking me for no reason. Oh yeah, by the way, if anyone has the personal info of that minor who was being harassed by a larger YouTuber, hit me up.
Side note, this video is not making excuses or even condoning Madame's shitty behavior. More has come out about her. This video, however, is pointing out Slimmers' lies and the double standards these people follow.
That's not how double standards work. They have to be doing the same amount of damage and people solely targeting one. So, yes, you are in a way condoning what Madame did by placing her illegal actions on the same basis as Slimmers wanting credit and simply going about it in the wrong way. Something that she has admitted to and apologized for, but apparently you and Madame are just that fucking petty.
Oh, but don't forget, he claims that Slimmers did worse things than the minor things everyone already acknowledges she made mistakes on, so in his eyes, because Slimmers did other things, they must be looked at on the same level as the legal adult directing targeted harassment towards a minor for wanting credit on their artwork.
Call me when Slimmers attempts to dox Madame and then maybe we'll talk. Maybe she can give me her number instead.
Also, he talks about how he's not going to make excuses for or condone Madame's behavior. Want to take 5 seconds to guess what his first point attempts to do?
I'll explain the situation to those who fail to understand. You may have already heard of me or even seen me troll a few people on Twitter. I'm Akumu. You can call me Madame's White Knight if it keeps that fragile mind of yours, working, ticking properly to at least get to this video. But, I'm literally attacking both of them.
So, you're openly admitting to attacking them, something that everybody didn't do. I guess this explains why he keeps calling all these criticisms attacks. Is your edgy smart boy brain too sensitive?
Additionally, wasn't the whole point behind your description that neither of them should be attacked, although both of their mistakes should be addressed? Now you're saying that you are literally attacking both of them? You can't even keep consistent into what you're claiming everyone else needs to do.
Before you start disliking the video and you start commenting troll or whatever you're going to comment,
I'm allowed to troll, but you guys aren't allowed to troll in my comments section. Yeah, this doesn't even surprise me that Akumu will get uppity when people block him, but openly acknowledges that he removes comments that effectively don't agree with him or imply anything but the noblest intent. Which is hilarious considering his bias against Slimmers is very apparent from him openly harassing her and asking other people to send him her private information, thus betraying a lack of noble intent. That's what he's doing here when he says that he has been removing comments from his video. Slimmers even commented, and that comment is no longer on the video. Ironic that the first thing he did in his video was talk about how people on Twitter didn't want to hear the truth and were actively trying to suppress it, and yet he hid a comment from the very person whom he was not only apparently trying to get into contact with, but also made a video on, trying to expose them for being an awful manipulative person. That's a whole other level of wow.
It's my word now, because it's not a physical thing, so I'm not stealing. It's mine now.
or telling me that I'm defending Madam, even though I'm not even actually defending Madam. I'm just giving you the facts.
Nothing in this video is fact.
Also, are you serious?
The number was fake and she said it was in the post. So it wasn't by definition a dox because it isn't real.
That's not how that works. Criminal intent is the intention to break the law. Madame said it was fake in a second post, not the first one. She was under the impression the number was real and thus means she showed criminal intent. And not only that, the number wasn't technically fake. It was a temporary number. It was still Slimmers' number, but it was created by an app and not a registered cell phone. That was still her number.
There's nothing that can excuse for her attempting to dox her, but I am going to tell you why.
I mean, why though? What does Madame's intentions behind doxing Slimmers have to do with the situation if you've just said it yourself that her actions in attempting to dox Slimmers is indefensible? It might be interesting additional information from a psychological perspective, but if your intent with this video is to showcase that Slimmers is just as bad as Madame without defending Madame's actions, then why would Madame's intent with the attempted dox be relevant to show that Slimmers is more in the wrong than we originally thought?
There's a lot that's happened, and you should be aware of what's actually happened, and the truth of the entire situation, and not just one side of the story.
But we did get both sides.
Madame's video response was because Slimmer's side got out first.
Most of the video responses to the situation have been acknowledging both Madame's video recounting the situation as well as Slimmers' screenshots and testimony. Everyone has come to the point we're at because Madame's side was so full of lies, contradictions, and holes that it became quite apparent that Slimmers' testimony held more weight.
Not to mention, Slimmers came equipped with screenshots and Madame showed like, what, one? And the rest was
incontestable proof.
If you have no idea what I'm talking about, you're watching this video, hi stranger. Recently there was some drama between a commentary YouTuber, Madam, and a furry artist named Slimmers. 90% of the videos out there so far that cover this topic are doing it wrong.
Correction, they aren't doing it my way, and everything needs to be done my way because everybody else is a dumb poopy head that can't handle my advanced 16-year-old intellect.
However, there are some amazing points. Nani made some good points. Hopeless Peaches made some fantastic points. Most of them kind of, they have a general idea of the points they make because they take a moral and ethical standpoint, and they kind of toss logic out the window.
Logic such as, maybe I should be polite to people whom I want to confess their guilt to me.
Or logic such as maybe if I don't act like a troll, people will want to listen to me.
Nah!
Because logic isn't, the basic understanding and basic common sense that we should have.
Common sense, like, maybe I shouldn't apply stipulations for physical goods onto digital goods.
Or maybe common sense, like doing legitimate research on how copyright works. I know you make we are taking this seriously. But come on! The only other common sense logical thing would be to cry.
I mean, in our defense, it's hard to take a video seriously when the facts being presented are things we can correct with one Google search.
I'm telling you facts. Now, where have I heard that before? No, we are not peeling that bad boy, no!
Okay. But they have some good points, but not all of them address the actual issue. Instead, they victimize one side and make the other look... I mean, the other's pretty bad. Both of them are bad. Both of them have to learn from their mistakes. But at the same time, just because one's a public figure and just because one is 4 years older does not mean that you entirely ignore... Just because one of them is 15 and is a sexual assault victim doesn't mean you ignore them.
Hey, Ponder, you want to see something funny?
Go for it.
And go.
The argument made by Madam is that Slimmers had personal ways of contacting her and should have resolved the issue in private. Which, heck, I mean, fair enough. I get it. I see where you're coming from, Madam, when it comes to that.
I don't know. That's one thing that I would say to Slimmers. If you can DM someone privately, I would go ahead and do so, because especially if they're a big YouTuber or get quite a lot of comments, your comment is going to be hidden. However, if there's no other way of contacting, then comments are usually the best way to go. However, since you both have DM'd in the past, you could have been able to DM one another. So that is one thing that I will say that Slimmers did wrong. However, it's not inherently evil or anything.
I mean, sure, they had numbers in their head when they were, accepting of making art for you for exposure, which is very strange practice, and I do question Slimmer's motives in that regard, and that I really do believe that they do have some sort of care in numbers, which is very strange to me, but still, and I think you're the one here that is really just not so great in this situation.
And he says nobody was paying attention to his video.
See, it's fitting that Akumu brought up Nani and Hopeless Peaches because those two, as well as almost everyone in this situation from what I'm aware of, has acknowledged the mistakes made by Slimmers. Nobody is saying that Slimmers was perfect, but they're recognizing that because of her age, her mistakes are more understandable. Slimmers is 15 and an amateur artist, which means that she doesn't get paid for her work. This means that not only would she be less aware of the decorum expected of a professional artist, she's also going to make general mistakes in behavior. The acknowledged mistakes we've made note of are her leaving the comment on Madame's video indicating that credit hadn't been given, as well as posting an Instagram story venting about it before going to talk to Madame in private DMs.
Not to mention, again, what Madame did was illegal. If Madame and Slimmers were the same age, maybe people would be a tad more forgiving. I can't say, but age becomes a problem and is noted due to the fact that Madame is a legal adult who, with intent, wanted to endanger, threaten, and bring some aspect of harm to an individual who is legally a minor.
And the issue, like I said, is they take a moral and ethical standpoint than properly logical, which is why all of you are attacking Madame and still are attacking Madame.
Two things I want to make note of here. One, if people are still looking into and deconstructing stuff from Madame, it's because they're now calling her other recent claims into question, particularly the one that a lot of people paid for. The second is that this dude argues that nobody is taking the logical standpoint, but bases his first argument on the grounds of semantics of terminology without providing a correction, thus making it look like he's claiming that the crime didn't happen, rather than it's called a different thing. If you're so good at logic, why would you not come to the logical conclusion that without including that stipulation, you weren't going to effectively get your point across?
People are also likely still going after Madame because the issue was never resolved. Slimmers, the one you have admitted to be attacking, not criticizing in this video, already apologized to the small thing that she did in this. You are one petty guy.
So before we dive in, I'm going to properly explain this. There's a side of the story, and this side of the story is really what everyone's trying to ignore. That's why everyone is saying they're not going to watch the video, or they're just going to click on it to report it. You're trying to silence the truth, and I'm not going to put up with that. Now I'm going to explain art theft, referencing, and tracing. So say if you have an image in memory or on your phone, and you take the effort of redrawing that image, not tracing it, but literally drawing the image onto paper. That's your work. Sure, it was clearly already done, but you did it again on paper. That's a great skill to get down. Many artists need references, and I use references sometimes, and it helps hone your craft, especially if you made those references. Now, if you just trace the image for the sake of taking credit, as in literally put it on the paper, or even trace it in an art program, you're taking the credit. It's obvious. There's a huge difference between tracing and redrawing an image, because when you redraw something, you put something into it. You put some work into it. You put your own hard work and kind of, even though you don't really notice it, you do put your own, I guess you could say, art style and way of art into it. It's not art theft, but you are stealing the credit. So if you say you did this image, even though you clearly traced it, you're not stealing the art, but you're taking the credit. As it was just copied, really. Now, when you download an image and you say you drew it, that's credit theft. Unless, of course, you give credit to the original person.
So, plagiarism. I'm asking, but luckily explained in the comments. Not a good sign when you make a video and then have to explain your point in the comments, a place people may not see and thus may cause people to misconstrue your points. Credit theft isn't a thing. It's plagiarism. If he's arguing it's different from a copyright infringement, then he's wrong, because plagiarism covers copyright infringement as an instance of something that is artistically copyrighted being plagiarized. It's still copyright infringement.
Guys, I want you all to really consider this. This guy talks about using logic to really look at the situation. He's, I assume, trying to get a point across, and in order to do that, what do you logically do when you're referring to a very specific use of intellectual property in an effort to differentiate from another one? Oh, you'd, I don't know, use the actual proper fucking name? Like credit theft? Are you serious? You know what I get when I search credit theft art on Google? A photographer stalking someone who stole their identity. You know what I get when I search credit theft legal? I get cases of identity theft. You know what I get when I search plagiarism? The actual definition of the crime you are trying to get across is Madame's true offense. What exactly led you to believe that it was the logical conclusion to use a term so not used in the definition or legal terminology for plagiarism that I literally had to search plagiarism credit theft to find them? Good God, why would you not just say, oh yeah, you guys are wrong on the terminology, it's actually plagiarism, not art theft? No, instead we get some weird non-specific term that takes everyone through loopholes that don't actually bring them to the right term unless they already know what you're referring to. Well, that's fucking brilliant. So is this art theft? Well, yes, but actually no.
I also find it funny that he's saying plagiarism is an art theft when plagiarism is technically still stealing a thing. Plagiarism, the practice of taking someone else's work or ideas and passing them off as one's own. Steal, take another person's property without permission or legal right and without intending to return it. Madame never stated who made the art, and when asked, didn't respond despite the fact this commenter commented during her 2-day time frame. Even if she didn't pass it off as her own, she failed to cite it properly as stated is necessary by plagiarismchecker.com.
Fuck, you want to argue semantics? I can do that. Definition for plagiarism has similar terms, which include copying, infringement of copyright, piracy, theft, and stealing. Define theft, the action or crime of stealing. Define stealing. First definition, take another person's property without permission or legal right and without intending to return it. Second definition, dishonestly pass off another person's ideas as one's own. Oh really? The thing that you're saying that Madame is doing by posting the work and not crediting? Credit theft, you called it, right? Well according to the definition, that's stealing. And the thing in question being stolen is artwork. It's art theft. You're basically arguing, guys, don't use this word, use the non-existent synonym of this word. Heck, if you'd like to cover semantics even further, Akumu is claiming that the term art theft does not and cannot apply to this situation because the artwork in question was a downloaded copy of the original work, meaning that Slimmers still has a copy of her work. According to him, stealing only refers to physical goods being taken from one person by another. Since the artwork was not a tangible physical object that is there and no longer in Slimmers' possession, art theft as a concept doesn't work. Stealing only refers to tangible physical objects. Okay, so then how can credit theft be a thing? Credit is not a tangible physical object. So by his own logic, the term credit theft also doesn't work and therein isn't a concept that can be used in this situation. So the premise he's providing is even more flawed, not just in that he's being overtly obsessive over unnecessary semantics, but also because what he offers up as an alternative has exactly the same problem as what he's criticizing. If you're going to be super overtly pedantic about terminology, maybe the new terms you're demanding people use shouldn't be flawed for the same reasons you're claiming the originals shouldn't be used. That would certainly be the logical way of addressing things.
Why? Because something has to be lost for it to be theft. Period.
Yeah, but something was lost. The credit. Credit theft. The credit was not there!
Guys, it can't be this word because nothing was lost. Also, you have to define it as this other thing that involves stealing credit, meaning that the artist lost the credit for the piece. You know, I've joked in the past that the teenage brain is basically on fire, but boy, are you okay? Do you need some water?
He needs some milk!
The whole concept of downloading an image and using it makes everyone an art thief that has ever downloaded an image and used it.
I mean, yeah, it kind of does by your own logic. Like, I sort of just kind of thought that it was the case because making a copy of a piece is technically piracy, and I personally consider piracy theft in certain situations. But fuck, man, even by you vehemently trying to classify this as plagiarism instead, it's still art theft. We use a synonym for an appropriate term, but it still applies, my dude.
Yeah, he's not wrong. But the issue with this situation is that Madame is directly using it for her own profit. She may be only using Slimmers' art in the thumbnail, but the thumbnail is like an advertisement for the video, and all of her videos are monetized, as we saw from her apology. It would be fine if Madame had gotten the rights to the art, but we've already explained she went back on the terms that would have given her those rights. None of this would be happening if she just copy and pasted the link. The kid just wanted some credit!
Yeah, if another person was doing that, we'd have a similar problem. It's really how the art is used that determines whether anyone cares that it was downloaded and copied. I don't think most online artists are too miffed by the idea of someone saving copies of their work because they like it and want to look at it more.
It becomes an issue when someone, takes someone else's art and resells it as a commission or puts it on a t-shirt.
Or used it for advertising.
Even if they don't take credit. Even if they don't put credit, which means 90% of the roleplay, probably more than that, are art thieves when it comes to OCs. Even though they didn't take anything unless they took the credit.
Except you're forgetting that credit in this situation was to be given in exchange for the art pieces in the first place, which means that Madame is using assets that she didn't pay for. It's that fact paired with the credit not being given alongside the fact that Madame intended to use the artwork in videos that she makes money from. People aren't saying that the situations you're describing aren't also situations where credit isn't being given, but it's the additional factors in this situation that get people invested in seeing the situation fixed. It's not just the credit, it's also the fact that this was a commission that wasn't paid for. It's that it still hasn't been paid for, but it's being used. It's the fact that a person using it makes money from doing so, and they do it as a public figure.
Even if you argue that technically she did, she took it back and removed it. You could also argue that not crediting anyone is creating the implication that the piece is yours. Ponder and I don't credit the people who made our stills because we made them, and thus, with no other name in the description, people can only assume that the art is ours.
Oh, people need to look at this logically. Yeah, well, logically, I would have expected you to recognize that, yes, what you are describing is still art theft. It is the same as that particular part of this situation, but there's more than just that in this situation. Akumu is basically saying, oh, if what Madame did is art theft, then I guess this is also art theft. Yeah, it is. Except people don't get up in arms about that art theft because there's generally nothing malicious going on. There's nothing more behind the intent. Are you wanting us to broaden what we get mad about? Don't people say that artists are too sensitive as it is already? This seems like a can of worms we shouldn't open.
People have an issue with this situation because not only is she profiting from it, but the credit was the item of exchange for it. If the situation were reversed and Madame made a shoutout segment, or let's say used actual money for the art and then never received it, then people would have an issue with Slimmers.
So you're not only marginalizing, but saying that people are art thieves when they aren't actually.
I mean, we are marginalizing a group of people, which means to treat a person, group, or concept as insignificant or peripheral, because we are treating those who steal art in this way as insignificant because of their lack of nefarious intentions. So technically he's right, but I don't think he's right in the way he thinks he is.
He must be new to the art community. Stuff like copyright and art theft is a pick and choose kind of battle here. He is right though in a way.
But he's also wrong in a way. Those people are art thieves, both by your own pedantic synonym of a definition and our own. People don't get mad because while it is illegal art theft or plagiarism, specifically copyright infringement if you want to continue to be pedantic, it's bred of appreciation and not of malicious intent.
Downloading an image for referencing or making fan art is theft, and an artist can choose to make a complaint about it. It's just most choose not to because most don't see it as an issue. The only times I've personally seen it is either when the poster claims the art is theirs, making a profit from it by putting it on a t-shirt per se or selling it, or if the artist isn't well known or not as big as the poster. It's a matter of perspective and context.
Just like how in court, a person can choose whether or not to press charges when a law is broken based on the severity of damages and the intent of the perpetrator, artists can choose to forgo lesser instances of plagiarism and focus on the serious cases. This is why big production companies don't sue people who do fan art, despite the fact that fan art is technically illegal. It's overall better for the fan art to exist because it's free advertising, and because punishing a fan for a symbol of appreciation of the property would make the company look like a bunch of dicks. It's also about picking and choosing your battles. I mean, come on, all we artists do is bitch, and there are only so many hours in the day with which to do that.
For example, here's the definition of theft, stole, and steal. Theft requires you to take something. For example, if someone commits theft by stealing your car, you no longer have your car until it's returned. If someone has eaten your food or taken it, you own it, but you no longer have it. This is basic common sense, and I shouldn't actually have to explain this, but I do because some people in this world have none.
You know what else is common sense? Nezzie, read the second definition of steal, please.
What? Oh, fuck me.
Boy, you put it in your video, did you not read it? Second definition, dishonestly pass off another person's ideas as one's own. That thing that you said Madame did because credit theft.
Plagiarism.
Yeah, that.
Also, by your logic, does that mean we can take your video?
Oh shit, yeah, let's digitally rob his YouTube channel.
Alright, you take that side, I'll take this one.
This seemed a lot lighter than you'd expect.
Well, what do you expect from something full of hot air? I'm surprised it didn't fly away.
So please keep that in mind while I continue. So what happened originally, before the interview with Nani, was Slimmers was a fan of Madam. She did fan art, this fan art here. Madam reached out to her wanting work, as seen here. She didn't have PayPal because she was a minor. However, she did not tell Madam she was a minor at this time. But when I go to message an artist that is underage, and as you can see, when I questioned them about PayPal, I asked if I could pay them for their work using PayPal. They told me they didn't have PayPal, and why? Because they were a minor. So please tell me, Slimmers, why you did not tell Madam you were a minor. I mean, you clearly don't have an issue with it now. You have it in your bios.
Why didn't you tell her the reason you didn't have a PayPal was because you were a minor? You said it in your bios. Boy just answered your own damn question.
How do you miss a person's bio on the way to the messenger button?
Why would Slimmers feel compelled to say how old she is if it said how old she was in her bio? Like, you act as though her not expressly stating that is her hiding that information, but also acknowledge that the information was, at the time, totally public for anyone to see. On top of that, in my own video, I explained that Slimmers is an amateur, not a professional artist, and a 15-year-old wouldn't be aware of professional decorum. So even if it was expected that a young artist explain that the reason they don't have a PayPal is because they're underage, which it's not. I don't know why on earth you're passing off your own expectations as though it's traditionally expected. Why would you expect that young amateur artist who's not used to doing commissions to know that?
It's even funnier when you realize that Madame acknowledges in her response that she knew Slimmers didn't have a PayPal because she was underage, and the fact that Slimmers said she would get one next year is what led her to suspect she was lying about it.
God damn, like, I wanted to make a point about how Akumu acknowledges that he has a bias against Slimmers.
Like here in the comments where he says his video is biased towards Slimmers, which, if you want to get into word semantics again, your video is biased against Slimmers, not towards her.
Yeah, that's the one. And you can see that bias is quite evident in instances like this, but fuck, this isn't even a case of a bias. Like, you have to actively go out of your way to come up with something this completely arbitrary and dumb to blame them for, and then also say something that points out how dumb your suspicion is. It is unnecessarily paranoid and conspiratorial.
Way to grasp at straws like your life depends on it. Did you take them from the straw man you presented earlier?
So, why you have it in your bios now, so why didn't you have it then?
According to the line you put in this video in the editing process, apparently she did.
Which means that you listened to that line, edited that in, and then listened to the next line, and still left it in!
Akumu has a nasty habit of not admitting when he's mistaken on something. Akumu, look at this section. You made a mistake and fixed it in editing. Learn from yourself, child.
Did he fix it though? Just like Madame, they put it in and then went back like a boomerang. Getting whiplash.
No worries, I'll give you a neck rub when this is all over.
Madam suggested giving credit for her work and a possible vocal shout-out in the video for crediting. Slimmers wanted both, and the two agreed to the terms.
That's not what happened. That's not what happened at all.
Madame offered a shout-out as a method of payment to Slimmers due to the PayPal situation.
When I looked over this conversation, I theorized that there might have been a miscommunication between the two of them understanding how credit was going to be given. Madame's wording of what she would offer Slimmers was, "Can I plug your Instagram in a video in return or something?" which Madame could have intended to refer as a one-time verbal shoutout, and Slimmers could have interpreted to refer to credit in the videos where the art is used. There is no indication that Slimmers is agreeing to two different things here, and the only other indication we have of Madame specifying the shoutout was on the 27th when she mentioned she wanted to use the stills for the J-Station interview. If you have information we don't have, you need to specify and show it, because based off of the released screenshots that everyone else has seen, your recounting is lacking.
The other thing is that Madame got in trouble for using the art in her thumbnails, which wasn't a part of the original deal. But this art wasn't a part of the deal at all. Neither of them have credit, and Madame didn't get permission to use the art in this manner on either of them.
Oh shit, wait a minute.
Uno reverse card! This guy is trying to point out what the community didn't notice, but this is a point that everybody missed. This art wasn't a part of the deal, and was the second piece of fan art he doesn't show that led Madame to wanting a commission from Slimmers in the first place. Also, the art on her second channel is also fan art, and there's no credit for that one either.
So even before she would have been able to use the stills she would have had to pay for with credit, she used fan art, which she hadn't agreed to pay for to use at all.
Yippity-doo-dah. We can't be sure if Slimmers ever gave permission for her to use it. During the debacle about Madame using the art in the thumbnail, we only know about the one where she used the still she specifically commissioned for, not the fan art.
Shoutout/credit was because you didn't have a PayPal. No one credits their commission unless it's free/complimentary by the artist.
It wasn't even a commission! You used fan art! It was free, you dumb fuck!
While Slimmers was notified of both videos, a link doesn't show the description. So there is a possibility that she didn't know she wasn't credited until later, and even then, in Nani's video, the one you show, she admits to waiting, thinking she would add it later.
This is when an experiment was uploaded, including her still in the thumbnail. So far, we have no evidence pointing to Madam not giving credit intentionally. However, we do have some evidence pointing to it being an accident.
Except for the fact that Madame accidentally forgot to give credit on a piece of fan art that wasn't a part of the deal, so even if she had given credit, the piece that she tried to claim she didn't need to give credit for because it was a commission wasn't a commission, and that was a lie. Whoops!
Even if you want to argue that the still used in the thumbnail that started all of this was hers, it wasn't. She technically hadn't paid for it, and Slimmers was told it was going to be used for a J-Station video, which isn't happening. So not only did she not pay for them and misuse them, she still hasn't paid and is still misusing them.
Plus, I don't think anyone is really on her ass for initially not giving credit. If credit hadn't been given, but Slimmers pointed that out, Madame fixed it, and nothing else had happened beyond that point, nobody would care about this. But that's not where it ended. So whether that was an accident or not doesn't matter. It was the very clearly non-accidents that happened after this point that people are upset with. And now we're upset because we just fucking figured out that the fan art used, which Madame has constantly referred to as a commission, wasn't actually a fucking commission. So even if you want to say that she was going to pay for the stills, she didn't have any pending right to use this piece. And I don't particularly think that deliberately using a piece that you haven't paid for is much of an accident.
No one credits their commission unless it's free/complimentary by the artist. It's fan art. Also, this flips the screenshot Akumu shows, which was in Madame's video, on its head because everything we thought it stood for has been thrown out the window. The video Slimmers commented on was the 50K video, the one that used the fan art. The comment that caused all of this, and the comment everyone agreed was where Slimmers did wrong, was kinda justified.
Yeah, I'd kind of agree with that. It would have been unprofessional for Slimmers to do so if Madame made a mistake and didn't credit the commission, but Madame didn't have any permission to use the fan art and it wasn't a part of their professional deal. So why would Slimmers need to approach her in a professional manner about art that she already should have been aware she didn't have any rights to use?
This whole situation is even more pointless now than it was before.
Thank you, Akumu. Your video, which was hyper-focused on proving to us that Slimmers is more in the wrong than we thought, has now revealed to us that Madame was more in the wrong than we originally thought. We probably wouldn't have noticed that if you hadn't made this video. Thank you for doing the exact opposite of what you set out to do.
Slimmers, we are so sorry. Not only did most of us mess up your name.
Ha! I didn't.
Shush. We messed up your whole position in this petty little feud. Madame is now even more at fault. Holy shit!
Slimmers commented on the video publicly addressing the issue, instead of, contacting Madam when she had her private Discord, as I'll reveal later, and apparently had her phone number, and they obviously had previously spoken in the DMs of Instagram.
Yeah, she spoke about it, but she spoke about the wrong issue.
Gonna flat out tell you, I care significantly less about Slimmers' professed unprofessionalism here, because it was unprofessional of Madame to use artwork that she hadn't even offered to pay the artist for, and then act like she doesn't need to credit it because she commissioned the artist for something else.
I used something I didn't even offer to pay for, but they were being unprofessional by not telling me privately.
Doesn't need to be private for any other moron to be able to figure out that artwork that wasn't a part of the commission deal isn't stuff that you can use.
I stated in my first video about this situation that it was like buying groceries and then going back to rob the place, but now let's add on buying one thing and expecting it to come in a set. Madame has only shown how entitled she is with this, and not to mention the complaint that she waited 2 weeks for stills. So professional.
Why? Well, her excuse was she wasn't thinking clearly at the time. Here's the conversation clips of the DMs.
So I saw her, how I shot that hospital video, and it was like an hour long, and it seemed serious, and I was like, oh no, this poor girl. I felt really bad, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna draw fan art for her. And I drew fan art for her. I'll show you my first fan art if I could pull it up. Okay, this was my first fan art I drew for her. It was very quick, I won't deny, because I was still, whenever I draw a character, I draw them in multiple styles inconsistently because I don't know what style I'm comfortable with. I just experiment a lot. So I drew that for her. For like, hey, you know, we feel better. And then she was like, oh my god, I loved it. She posted on her story on Instagram. She shared it all over the place. She loved it. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm so happy that you really liked it and stuff like that. I drew her another one because I was like, yeah, I'm making someone happy. I like that. I like making people happy. So I drew her another one. She adored that one the most.
Nani, I'm just popping in here to say, I'm sorry that so much of your video was used here. It's kind of ridiculous.
Funnily enough, she wasn't credited either until she had to point it out.
And she put it in the profile picture again. She put it as a YouTube banner in the back. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. And then she contacted me on Instagram. I think I still have the screenshots of her asking to contact me on Instagram. I said screaming, because that was when she was complimenting my stuff, and I was like, screaming, you deserve 100% of the content you make. You seem like such a cool ass person. And she was just like, hey, do you have commissions open? I love how you drew me, and I was wondering if you'd be down to make a few stills with different expressions and stuff. I love you. Stuff for videos. I'm still gonna use gameplay, but officially I'd love to express myself with your art. IMK your prices if you're open for that. And I said, I don't have a PayPal sadly, but I don't mind drawing you since I'm a big fan of yours. I started to be a big fan. I thought her content was decent. It was decent to say the least, but I was like, I don't mind drawing for her. She seems very nice if she went through so much. And she's like, oh, I appreciate that so much, but I feel bad if I didn't do something back for you. Can I plug your Instagram in the video? And so now you know that she made a deal. It's not like a...
Anyone else notice that? Oh yeah, Slimmer's changed her story. She even told Madam she was a big fan right here. Yet she says she was literally just introduced to Madam by her hospital video and supposedly had felt bad and decided to make fan of.
When?
There is no way to prove that without asking Slimmers herself.
Slimmers never said that she was introduced to Madame during the hospital video, just that she saw the hospital video and it urged her to draw fan art. Yes, she could have been introduced to her in that video, but why does that negate her saying that she's a big fan? You can become a big fan in a short amount of time by binging a person's work. You can become a big fan just by watching one of their videos and deciding that you are now a fan. Slimmers isn't changing her story by saying that she was a big fan, even if she was only introduced to Madame a short while ago. It would be changing her story if she claimed that she was a big fan and she wasn't, or if she claimed that she had been a big fan for a long time but she had only known about Madame for a short while. I even checked with Slimmers and she says that she had known about Madame for 3 weeks before the hospital video came out, but it was the hospital video that turned Slimmers into a fan of Madame as a person and not necessarily just as a content creator. What you're trying to push as Slimmers changing her story is not actually Slimmers changing her story.
I think it's about her saying she was a big fan and then saying her content was decent, but even then, that's not her changing her story, that's her changing her mind. A person's work can change when you view them in a different light. Disliking a person can dim the light on their work because you might no longer idolize them, especially when it comes to commentary because a major part of our work is our character. For example, I used to be a big fan of I'm Alex, but I stopped because of the Slazo situation, and now I distrust his commentaries because of how he had presented himself as a person who was willing to lie.
Which leads to the DMs. Here's the rather long segment of her explaining her experience with screenshots of the interaction after she commented on the YouTube video.
Nani deserves royalties!
Nani deserves copyright infringement.
Copyright strike Nani!
Freedom for YouTubers everywhere!
I expected. So she said, okay, firstly, you should DM me by off the chance I stopped reading YouTube comments. Then I would have never seen it. I'm gonna just give credit instead of a verbal shout out. Whatever prefers is fine by me. Also, what's strange is that you respond to the thumbnail here, but then just now asked me to do this, but okay. I don't know why she found that strange. I mean, I've just been waiting for her to give me, credit, and I don't know why she's saying it just now. Yeah, I'm saying it just now because I did waited for you. I gave you a chance to wait.
So, she admitted that she was waiting for the credit, and I'm gonna be honest, it's not that difficult, and it doesn't take that long to copy and paste the link.
So, they just now asked me to do this, but okay, take your credit. The shout out then, lol. I wanted to pay you anyway. Shout out / credit was because you didn't have a PayPal. No one credits their commission unless it's free, complimentary by the artist. Take your credit. Fuck the shout out, I guess. She's like, then of course credit, which was the plan, but okay, I got you. And I said, I mean credit in the description of your videos. Then she said, yeah, that's the plan. I said, I got you. Boom, done. Just DM me because I stopped reading the comments after 48 hours. So I was like, thank you, that's all I wanted, not hating. But it was just a thing I would like, smiley face. Not angry, just letting you know. She said, yeah, of course. But it's kind of whack. You wouldn't just DM me after we've had phone calls and stuff. Yeesh. By off chance, I stopped reading comments like this, and she's just repeating herself. I was like, ooh. She's like, what do you expect? Has this been commented a day later? I would have seen it. Yeah, of course, it's kind of whack, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, what do you expect? Had this been commented a day later, I wouldn't have seen it. I just got weirded out. You would have just told me directly. I was just like, so I replied, it's okay, I understand. I was just upset at the moment. Sure, it was messed up. I didn't DM you, but I'm sorry. Sorry for that. That was sucky of me. I clearly apologized and said that was sucky of me and I'm sorry. And then she goes again.
Way to leave in the bit where she openly says that she messed up and that she apologized.
Oh wow, acknowledging your mistakes in an effort to be transparent about the situation? You mean that thing that Madame hasn't been doing? Even to the point where she is directly lying and claiming that the fan art she used was a commission she ordered from Slimmers? Weird!
He says people are attacking Madame, but not Slimmers, and yet ignores the fact that not only were their offenses not equal, but that Slimmers has taken responsibility for what she did, unlike Madame.
Artists aren't allowed to choose who they want to be mad at based on who's truthful and who accepts responsibility for their mistakes.
Can I be mad that 27.16% of Akumu's video is just Nani's unedited video?
You can be 27.16% mad.
Damn, not mad enough to be a mad lad.
Absolute meh lad.
Yeah, kind of shit considering we have phone calls and she's repeating herself. This is like the third time she repeated herself. And she's like, yeah, kind of shit considering we've had phone calls and most YouTubers stop reading comments. Most YouTubers.
I don't know about you, but I obsess over mine. Then again, my channel's a small bean. Either that or I have issues.
Stop reading comments after the upload, but okay, luckily I checked today. Lol. She was really aggressive and like, I was like, I'm sorry, and then she's like, yeah, but still, it was kind of shit, like, she kept repeating herself, and I'm like, I'm sorry, like, but yeah, all good, here you go, and then she credited me, and she's like, and don't worry about future uploads, I don't think I'll forget to add you again, if I use the art for thumbnails, I'll be mindful, and I'm like, okay, Ashley, and I said, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be a dick, I just wanted a credit in the description, that's all. You don't have to credit me every single video, which I mean, she doesn't have to credit me. What I mean by she doesn't have to credit me every single video, I mean by she doesn't have to credit me even with the thumbnail not being there. So that is also my fault. That's another mistake I did. That's my fault for not being specific there. I said only the ones where you use my thumbnails. Okay, I was kind of being specific.
Also taking responsibility for not pointing out something that, according to Madame's video on the situation, should have been common sense for Madame to have known.
You don't understand, Ponder! She sinned!
Yes, let me just bring up how the artist is marked by sin, but then also make a video where I'm berating people for not looking at things with facts and logic. That makes sense.
Don't forget common sense.
If sin is fact, logic, and common sense for your god, boy, my god has tentacles. Fiend, can you put that on your tentacles, Sweet Bean? Good boy.
Where's your god now?
Only the ones where you use my thumbnails, I should have mentioned it first in the call. Because I'm like, maybe I didn't mention it in the call. That's why I said it. I was like, maybe I didn't mention it in the call properly. That's why I said I should have mentioned it first in the call. And I'm sorry, I said in the comments I was very upset. But I do not want to argue at all. I'm not even angry at you. It was just a mistake I should have mentioned beforehand. But I'm telling you now, and I'll delete the comment. So that's why I deleted the comment at that moment. And at that moment, I was just like, oh, well, you know, maybe like, I said I got you with the credit, haha. You don't gotta do anything, it's fine. I thought we agreed on some video shout out. I forgot, but it was viral. But she's like saying like about she's not saying making one video about the shout out. She said it was gonna be like her talking about another situation and I'll eventually be in the video as a shout out. So she said, I see the issue with that, it won't be long term. So I will be sure to always have credit. And I said, I should have told you the thumbnail thing, I'm really sorry, Ashley. And she's like, plus I mean common sense if I use it for the thumbnail, right? I just forgot this time. So she mentioned that she forgot.
Most that are attacking Madam and defending Slimmers seem to think Madam never gave credit. That it's not entirely accurate.
Nobody thought that. In fact, that was one of the primary issues people had. The comments may say to credit her, but everybody who's made a video brings up the fact that she removed the credit. Madame openly admits in her video that she removed the credit out of spite.
As well as openly admitting that she didn't give it initially and then contradicting herself and claiming that it was a complete fabrication.
Look at how much smarter I am than all of you. I'm so smart that I didn't even pay attention to what any of you said.
Here are Madam's screenshots along with Slimmers that shows evidence that she initially when the issue first occurred, fixed it. Here we can clearly see the artist is happy now.
Is this supposed to be a big revelation? You know that we've seen these screenshots, right?
You literally screenshotted her video where she showed her side. A public video that has been seen by over 100,000 people.
Why did you say that people were under the incorrect assumption that Madame did not credit the artwork initially? For one thing, all of the videos I've seen had people address that credit was not given, and then removed.
Multiple people have even said that if that's where it ended, nobody would care.
Secondly, why are you saying that it's incorrect for them to be under this assumption when the screenshot you show demonstrates Madame acknowledging that she didn't give credit and then fixing the situation? Literally, the first screenshot you bring up is her showing the artist that she fixed it. There had to have been a mistake in the first place for her to need to fix it, and had that been the extent of the mistake, again, no one would bat an eye at it. Mistakes happen, there's no misunderstanding there. Madame originally didn't give credit, Slimmers left her a comment, Madame added the credit, and then later removed it.
Soon after this incident, many began to literally insult and attack Madam. Why? Because Slimmers decided to vent on Instagram. This isn't the first time someone has vented about an issue and mobbed Slimmer to cancel culture. This was the critical mistake Slimmers made, which led to Madam being attacked, removing her credit, and soon resulted in Madam attempting to dox her.
You know you need to prove that, right? I mean, I won't argue that realistically the vent in her Instagram was Slimmers' critical mistake, and this is something that she's recognized wasn't a good idea, but if you're going to make the claim that Slimmers' initial vent led to those attacks, and the attacks were what led to Madame's later actions, you need to prove that. The problem is that you can't prove that because based on the information available for the time frame of the comment left, you can't be sure when most of them were left within the week period where all of this was happening.
If you scroll down into the deep depths of her 50K video, her response is aggressive, and she immediately lies and says that the art in the thumbnail was part of the initial commission, which it's not. After that comment, the first after Slimmers, is when, yes, they start becoming somewhat aggressive.
Yes, you can make the claim that the vent led to the attacks. You know what could have also led to the attacks that you're not acknowledging? Madame's reaction to the comments. You aren't proving that it was specifically the thing that you claim started the attacks, and you need to make an attempt to prove that because there are multiple possibilities for why it could have happened. For you to assume that it was directly as a result of Slimmers' Instagram story is just as bad as someone with equally as little proof claiming that it was directly as a result of Madame's behavior. You making this claim with no evidence means that we have just as much reason to believe the opposite.
Not to mention, all of this, the videos where Madame used the art, the fallout between Madame and Slimmers, and Nani's video with Slimmers, happened in 1 week. To say that all the hate and criticism came from Slimmers fans and vent posts is completely unreasonable.
Especially since the account the story was posted on was a small private Instagram channel at the time, and the first comment that got Madame so mad was actually worded quite politely.
Not to mention, not aggressive in the slightest. Keep in mind also that Madame's aggression didn't come from seeing the post. She was told about it. She was under the impression that Slimmers told people to attack her based on hearsay, instead of actually checking what was said and having a civil conversation with Slimmers.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. She flat out admitted in her video on the situation that a friend told her what it said, and then she didn't bother to check. And then when Slimmers tried to correct her, she also didn't check. Or she did and didn't care and then continued to push the narrative that Slimmers was sending people to attack her.
Madame, throughout this whole video, has done nothing but bury herself due to her own stubbornness and ego. She has shown she doesn't like it when people point out her mistakes, and yet you still put her and Slimmers, an individual who has apologized and moved on from this, that she is at equal fault. Sorry, dude. They may be playing the same game, but they are at different ballparks.
When I made a video about this situation, if there wasn't enough information provided for me to gauge what happened, I would skip over the segment, and if only a little was provided and there were potential gaps, I would speculate and I would specify that I was speculating and give my reasoning behind it. You, on the other hand, are throwing out a direct timeline-based accusation and providing nothing to substantiate it. That isn't how this works. You don't get to make a claim and provide absolutely no fucking evidence. Slimmers provided her evidence, so in order to have us take your claim seriously, you also have to provide evidence, or you need to break apart the evidence Slimmers has brought forth and explain why it's flawed, which you haven't done. In fact, you've directly brought up parts of Slimmers' evidence to make claims that the evidence itself proves wrong.
Luckily, the number was fake. Now, Madam knew this, as she said this in her story.
No she didn't.
In her story, she says apparently it's fake, which means that she didn't know it was fake.
You can quite clearly tell from her stories and the wording within them that Madame was very much under the impression that this was a real phone number, and at the time, it has been confirmed, this was a means to contact Slimmers. In her story, she said to DM her and she'd give you the number to do what you want with. She was only corrected on this and claimed that it was fake later in her story, which is when she made the number public, which would have been after Slimmers changed it, something Madame wouldn't have known she had the ability to do when she started giving the number to those who asked for it in DMs.
It is even heavily implied that they have texted, DM'd, and messaged each other before, which means that Madame has used the number to contact Slimmers, which means she knew the number worked. It is only by sheer fucking luck the number was a temporary, made by an app, and not one that was registered, and thus could be changed very quickly.
So I don't see that as technically, I mean, you can say it was an attempted dox. Sure, it was wrong, and even attempting to do so, let alone leaking it, still does, it isn't professional, it is immature, but it's not actually doxing.
Good thing people are mad at her because she attempted to dox Slimmers.
Also, may I reiterate, criminal intent. I don't know if you can even label this an attempt, because technically she did. It just so happens that Slimmers could change the number on a whim.
Madame's immediate response to her issue with Slimmers being trying to dox her demonstrates an extreme lack of consideration for the well-being of a minor. Just because Madame wasn't successful in her attempt doesn't mean people shouldn't be angry with her or point out that she tried to do it, which is what people are doing. She was unsuccessful because of pure luck, not because she herself had any sort of revelation that her behavior was inappropriate.
This was around the time that Madame found out that Slimmers was 15, although she pretended to be someone of age and even said she was going to college.
No, it's not. She always knew she was 15. You said it was in her bio in the beginning, and we've already stated how you couldn't miss that.
Within Madame's own video, she contradicted herself and admitted that not only was she aware of Slimmers' initial claim to be 15, she never actually stated that Slimmers claimed to be older than she was, just that Madame herself and potentially her friends made that assumption based on Slimmers' claim that she would be prepping for college in the next year. She even continued to specify in her quote-unquote apology video that it was based on Slimmers' actions and not necessarily because Slimmers told her that she was older than 15. Not only that, Madame acknowledged that there are programs and courses that someone who is younger than 18 can attend that puts them in college courses, but wrote that off as an option because she was only aware of that being a thing in the UK and didn't check to see if programs like that existed in the US. Spoilers, they do.
Speaking of those courses, I can tell you firsthand that there's a thing called AP, or Advanced Placement, where kids in their junior and senior year, one for sophomores at least at my school, can apply and earn possible college credits if they earn a certain score on their AP exam, depending on what classes and scores that college accepts. AP classes are treated like a basic 101 class and are treated to a certain extent like a college course set on 2 times the speed.
And Madame made note that there were other signs about Slimmers' behavior that led her friends to believe she was younger than the age that they assumed she was. Unless you have proof that Slimmers directly lied about her age to Madame, you don't get to make the claim that she did. You have nothing to back this up, and you are purely going off of, at this point I can only assume, Madame's testimony, which has already been called into question because of the sheer number of times she has been directly caught in a lie or a contradiction.
This is coming from Madame's side of the story, but Slimmers has not claimed it to be untrue.
Why would Slimmers need to come out and say that she didn't lie about her age? Nothing has been provided to prove that she did in the first place.
You can't prove a negative. If you make a claim, you're putting out a positive, or that something has occurred or exists, and therefore you are stuck with the burden of proof. Madame made a claim with no proof, other than it's what happened in a Discord call, and judging by her track history, I'm not inclined to believe a word she says without some type of physical proof.
Oh no, don't say physical. He'll argue that you're wrong because screenshots are digital.
I asked for evidence to prove this wrong, and she has provided none.
I tagged her in a tweet asking for evidence against this. Previously, I've asked if she'd like to call on Discord with a tweet.
You've stated before that at the beginning you were trolling, and you have shown that at every turn you insult her and everybody else. How is anybody supposed to take you seriously, and how do you expect people to want to talk to you after you treat everyone like garbage?
Hey, dumb artist of this situation, fucking talk to me so I can tell everyone why you're evil. Oh, I can't imagine why she didn't adhere to your wishes.
Sinner! Sinner! Why won't you text me back? Well, so what evidence could she possibly give you? It was in a call!
Before you say I'm acting entitled.
You're acting entitled.
Whoo boy! I'm sorry, Ponder, but my stamina unfortunately doesn't match up.
I guess I can't really be surprised. I'm a Chad commentator working with the Virgin commentator. Well, I can't really blame you. Akuma coming in and acting like he is providing evidence that would blow the case wide open when he was just reusing things everyone has seen and just assuming the point would get across is a tad exhausting.
I'm the evidence boy! I'm the one who wins! But on a serious note, this isn't over yet, my little monsters. As you can tell from the title, this was only part 1.
Come on over to my channel for part 2. Akumu's attempt to flip the situation provided 2 videos worth of weird arguments for us to laugh at, together as a family.
Well, this is farewell for now, my little monsters, and I'll see you all over on Ponder's side of the net. Hopefully I survive the treacherous and slightly provocative trip to her territory. What have I dropped myself into? Hey everyone, guess what? I get to make my very first fan art feature! Holy crapsicles, my dudes. This is amazing. I never thought I would ever get fan art, and this is just... oh my gosh, my heart. This stuff is absolutely amazing. So now, every video I will be featuring 7 pieces of your lovely works as a bit of an appreciation piece for your adorable masterpieces. So stay tuned till the ends of videos from now on to see if yours gets featured. First, we actually have my very first fan art by Animate1 Icy Cream, who made not 1, but 2 adorable chibi speed paints. Oh my gosh, they're so... oh, I want to pinch their little pink cheeks. Oh my gosh. Next, we have these 2 wonderful pieces by Antoine Louis King. Finally, I get to be my own waifu. My bisexuality beast within is mighty pleased. The next piece isn't quite technically fan art, but I still want to include it because it's just too cute. It's essentially pick a number and they'll draw a picture of a scenario kind of deal, but with a romantic twist by Cinnamon Rollski. I really hope I pronounced that right. Over on Twitter. Thank you so much for quite a lovely date. The next piece is by Chaotic Irish Potato, who made this absolutely darling little doodle for my baby chubby mushroom Simon. Oh, look at him, cute he is, sparkly eyed. Oh god, I want to pick him up and cuddle. And finally, my favorite piece by a very dumb person referencing my little mailbox massacre from my Night in the Woods Let's Play. Fuck yo mailboxes! Fuck yo mailboxes! Thank you all so much again. You have no idea how much it warms my heart when I get these. Oh my gosh, my heart grew 3 times this day. And now I should probably go to a doctor. But regardless, be sure to check out part 2 over on Ponder's channel. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in whatever the hell pops up next.